Lithuania is a country in Baltic region of Europe. It is one of 3 Baltic states, lies on the eastern shore of Baltic Sea. Bordered by Latvia to the north, Belarus to the east and south, Poland to the south, Russian semi-exclave of Kaliningrad Oblast to the southwest, with a maritime border with Sweden to the west. Lithuania covers an area of 65,300 km square with 2.89 million population. Capital and largest city is Vilnius. Other major cities include Kaunas, Klaipėda, Siauliai, and Paluse. Lithuanians belong to the linguistic group of the Balts and speak Lithuanian. For millennia, the southeastern shores of Baltic Sea were inhabited by various Baltic tribes. In the 1230s, Lithuanian lands were united for the first time by Mindaugas, who formed Kingdom of Lithuania on the 6th of July, 1253. Subsequent expansion and consolidation resulted in the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, which by 4th century was the largest country in Europe. In 1386, Grand Duchy entered into a de facto personal union with Crown of the Kingdom of Poland. The two realms were united into the biconfederal Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1569, forming one of the largest and most prosperous states in Europe. The Commonwealth lasted more than 2 centuries until neighboring countries gradually dismantled it between 1772 and 1795, with Russian Empire annexing most of Lithuania's territory. Towards the end of World War I, Lithuania declared independence in 1918, founding the modern Republic of Lithuania. In World War II, Lithuania was occupied by Soviet Union, then by Nazi Germany, before reoccupied by the Soviets in 1944. Lithuanian armed resistance to the Soviet occupation lasted until the early 1950s. On the 11th of March, 1990, a year before the formal dissolution of Soviet Union, Lithuania became the first Soviet republic to break away when it proclaimed the restoration of its independence. Lithuania is a developed country with a high income and advanced economy. Lithuania is a member of European Union, Council of Europe, Eurozone, Nordic Investment Bank, Schengen Agreement, NATO, and OECD. It also participates in the Nordic-Baltic 8 regional cooperation format. Lithuania is located in Baltic region of Europe and covers an area of 65,300 km square. It lies between latitudes 53 degrees and 57 degrees north, and mostly between longitudes 21 degrees and 27 degrees east. Part of Curonian Spit lies west of 21 degrees. It has 99 kilometers of sandy coastline, of which only 38 kilometers face the open Baltic Sea, less than the other 2 Baltic states. The rest of the coast is sheltered by Curonian Sand Peninsula. Lithuania's major warm water port, Klaipėda, lies at the narrow mouth of Curonian Lagoon, a shallow lagoon extending south to Kaliningrad. The country's main and largest river, Nemunas River, and some of its tributaries carry international shipping. Lithuania lies at the edge of North European Plain. Its landscape smoothed by the glacier of last ice age and is a combination of moderate lowlands and highlands. Highest point is Aukštojas Hill at 294 meters in eastern part of the country. The terrain features numerous lakes, Lake Vititis, wetlands, and mixed forest zone covers 33% of the country. Dzūkija is the largest, Tauragnas is the deepest, and Asveja is the longest lake in Lithuania. After re-estimation of the boundaries of the continent of Europe in 1989, Jean-Georges Affolter, scientist at Institut Géographique National, determined that the geographic center of Europe was in Lithuania 54 degrees 54 minutes north, 25 degrees 19 minutes east, 26 kilometers north of Lithuania's capital city of Vilnius. Affolter accomplished this by calculating the center of gravity of the geometrical figure of Europe. Lithuania has temperate climate with both maritime and continental influences. Defined as humid continental under Köppen climate classification, but is close to oceanic in a narrow coastal zone. Average temperatures on the coast are -2.5 degrees Celsius in January and 16 degrees Celsius in July. In Vilnius, average temperatures are -6 degrees Celsius in January and 17 degrees Celsius in July. During summer, 20 degrees Celsius is common during the day, while 14 degrees Celsius is common at night. In the past, temperatures reached as high as 30 or 35 degrees Celsius. Winters can be very cold. -20 degrees Celsius occurs almost every winter. Winter extremes are -34 C in coastal areas and -43 degrees Celsius in the east of Lithuania. The average annual precipitation is 800 mm on the coast, 900 mm in the Samogitian Highlands and 600 mm in the eastern part of the country. Snow occurs every year and can snow from October to April. In some years, sleet fall in September or May. The growing season lasts 202 days in the western part of the country and 169 days in the eastern part. Severe storms are rare in the eastern part of Lithuania but common in the coastal areas. The longest records of measured temperature in Baltic area cover about 250 years. The data show warm periods during the latter half of 18th century, and the 19th century was relatively cool period. An early 20th century warming culminated in the 1930s, followed by smaller cooling that lasted until the 1960s. A warming trend has persisted since then. Lithuania experienced drought in 2002, causing forest and peat bog fires. Lithuania does not have high mountains, and its landscape is dominated by blooming meadows, dense forests, and fertile fields of cereals. However, it stands out by the abundance of hillforts, which previously had castles where ancient Lithuanians burned altars for pagan gods. Lithuania is a particularly watered region with more than 3,000 lakes, mostly in the northeast. The country is also drained by numerous rivers, most notably the longest Nemunas. Lithuania is home to two terrestrial ecoregions: Central European mixed forests and Sarmatic mixed forests. Forest has long been one of the most important natural resources in Lithuania. Forests occupy 1/3 of the country's territory, and timber-related industrial production accounts for almost 11% of industrial production in the country. Lithuania has 5 national parks, 30 regional parks, 402 nature reserves, 668 state-protected natural heritage objects. Lithuanian ecosystems include natural and semi-natural, forests, bogs, wetlands, meadows, and anthropogenic, agrarian and urban ecosystems. Among natural ecosystems, forests are particularly important to Lithuania, covering 33% of the country's territory. Wetlands, raised bogs, fens, transitional mires, cover 7.9% of the country, with 70% of wetlands lost due to drainage and peat extraction between 1960 and 1980. Changes in wetland plant communities resulted in replacement of moss and grass communities by trees and shrubs. Fens not directly affected by land reclamation become drier as a result of a drop in the water table. There are 29,000 rivers with total length of 64,000 kilometers in Lithuania. Nemunas River Basin occupying 74% of the territory of the country. Due to construction of dams, 70% of spawning sites of potential catadromous fish species have disappeared. In some cases, river and lake ecosystems continue impacted by anthropogenic eutrophication. Agricultural land comprises 54% of Lithuania's territory, 70% of arable land and 30% meadows and pastures. Approximately 400,000 hectares of agricultural land is not farmed and acts as ecological niche for weeds and invasive plant species. Habitat deterioration is occurring in regions with productive and expensive lands as crop areas are expanded. Currently, 18.9% of all plant species, including 1.87% of fungi species and 31% of lichen species, are listed in the Lithuanian Red Data Book. The list also contains 8% of fish species. The wildlife populations rebounded as hunting became more restricted and urbanization allowed replanting forests. Forests already tripled in size since their lows. Currently, Lithuania has 250,000 larger wild animals, or 5 per each square kilometer. The most prolific large wild animal in every part of Lithuania is roe deer with 120,000 of them, followed by boars 55,000. Other ungulates are deer, 22,000, fallow deer, 21,000. The largest one are moose, 7,000. Among Lithuanian predators, foxes are most common, 27,000. Wolves, however, more ingrained into the mythology as there are 800 in Lithuania. Even rarer are lynxes, 200. The large animals mentioned above exclude rabbit, 200,000 of which may live in the Lithuanian forests. Statistics from 2023 showed 1.4 million tourists from foreign countries visited Lithuania and spent at least one night. The largest number of tourists came from Poland, 173,500, Latvia, 144,300, Belarus, 141,900, Germany, 127,400, United Kingdom, 74,200, United States, 69,700, Ukraine, 67,000, and Estonia, 61,300. Domestic tourism has been on the rise as well. Currently, there are up to 1,000 places of attraction in Lithuania. Most tourists visit the big cities like Vilnius, Klaipėda, Kaunas, and seaside resorts such as Neringa, Palanga, and spa towns of Druskininkai, Bertonas. Hot air ballooning is popular, especially in Vilnius and Trakai. Bicycle tourism is growing, especially Lithuanian seaside cycle route. Eurovelo routes EV10, EV11, EV13 go through Lithuania. Total length of bicycle tracks amounts to 3,769 kilometers, of which 1,988 kilometers is asphalt pavement. Nemunas Delta Regional Park and Uvintas Biosphere Reserve are known for birdwatching. Total contribution of tourism to GDP forecast to rise to €3.2 billion, 7% of GDP by 2027, but decreased to €1.7 billion, 2.3% of GDP in 2023, although it is rising post-COVID-19 pandemic. Lithuania received its first railway connection in the middle of 19th century when Warsaw-St. Petersburg Railway was constructed. It included a stretch from Daugavpils via Vilnius and Kaunas to Verbelis. The first and only still operating tunnel was completed in 1860. Rail transport in Lithuania consists of 1,762 kilometers of 1,520 mm Russian gauge railway, of which 122 kilometers are electrified. This railway network is incompatible with European standard gauge and requires train switching. However, Lithuanian railway network also has 115 kilometers of standard gauge lines. More than half of all inland freight transported in Lithuania is carried by rail. The Trans-European Standard Gauge Rail Baltica railway linking Helsinki, Tallinn, Riga, Kaunas, Warsaw and continuing on to Berlin. Transportation is the third largest sector in Lithuanian economy. Lithuanian transport companies drew attention in 2016 and 2017 with huge and record-breaking orders of trucks. Almost 90% of commercial truck traffic in Lithuania is international transports, the highest of any EU country. Lithuania has extensive network of motorways. Port of Klaipėda is the only commercial cargo port in Lithuania. In 2011, 45.5 million tons of cargo were handled, including beating oil terminal figures. Port of Klaipėda is outside of EU's 20 largest ports, but is 8th largest port in Baltic Sea region with ongoing expansion plans. As of 2022, Lithuanian Inland Waterways Authority, Vidaus Vandens Kelių Direkcija in Lithuanian, is developing strategy to resurrect cargo shipping on the Nemunas. Its fleet of electric ships will travel 260 kilometers between Klaipėda port on Baltic Sea coast and the industrial and transportation center of Kaunas. The project is anticipated €75.7 million initial investment and estimated to eliminate 48,000 truck trips annually. Vilnius International Airport is the largest airport in Lithuania, 91st busiest airport in Europe, EU's 100 largest airports. It served 3.8 million passengers in 2016. Other international airports include Kaunas International Airport, Palanga International Airport and Siauliai International Airport. Kaunas International Airport is also a small commercial cargo airport which started regular commercial cargo traffic in 2011. The inland river cargo port in Marvel, linking Kaunas and Klaipėda, received first cargo in 2019. Several famous Lithuania-related architects are notable for their achievements in the field of architecture. Johann Christoph Glaubitz, Marcin Nakfus, Laurynas Gusevius and Karol Podchasinski were instrumental in introducing Baroque and neoclassical architectural movements to the Lithuanian architecture during 17th to 19th centuries. Vilnius is considered a capital of the Eastern Europe Baroque. Vilnius Old Town is full of astonishing Baroque churches and other buildings, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Lithuania is known for numerous castles. About 20 castles exist in Lithuania. Some castles rebuilt or survive partially. Many Lithuanian nobles' historic palaces and manor houses have remained till nowadays were reconstructed. Lithuanian village life existed since days of Vytautas the Great. Zavinos and Kapinikiai are two of many ethnographic villages in Lithuania. Rūmix is an open-space museum where old ethnographic architecture is preserved. During interwar period, Art Deco, Lithuanian National Romanticism architectural style buildings were constructed in Lithuania's temporary capital Kaunas. Its architecture is regarded as one of the finest examples of European Art Deco and has received European Heritage Label. Lithuanian Art Museum, founded in 1933, is the largest museum of art conservation and display in Lithuania. Among other important museums are Palanga Amber Museum, where amber pieces comprise major part of the collection, National Gallery of Art, presenting collection of Lithuanian art of 20th and 21st century, National Museum of Lithuania presenting Lithuanian archaeology, history and ethnic culture. In 2018 two private museums were opened. Emo Museum, devoted to modern and contemporary Lithuanian art, and Tartle, exhibiting a collection of Lithuanian art heritage and artifacts. Perhaps the most renowned figure in Lithuania's art community was composer Mikalojus Konstantinas Čiurlionis, 1875 to 1911, an internationally renowned musician. The 2420 Čiurlionis asteroid, identified in 1975, honors his achievements. The M.K. Čiurlionis National Art Museum, as well as the only military museum in Lithuania, Vytautas the Great War Museum, are located in Kaunas. Franciszek Smugglewicz, Jan Rustam, Józef Oleszkiewicz and Kęstutis Rusiecki are the most prominent Lithuanian painters of the 18th and 19th centuries. Lithuania has theatres in Vilnius, Kaunas, Klaipėda and Painvys. Lithuanian National Drama Theatre, Keistuoliai Teatras, Theatre of Freaks, in Vilnius. Kaunas State Drama Theatre, Theatre of Oskaras Koronovas, Klaipėda Drama Theatre, Theatre of Gytis Ivanauskas, Miltinis Drama Theatre in Painvys. The Dolls Theatre, Old Theatre of Vilnius. Theatre festivals include Sirenas, Sirens, the Atrium, Nurk Teatra, Dive into the Theatre. Lithuanian cuisine features the products suited to the cool and moist northern climate of Lithuania. Barley, potatoes, rye, beets, greens, berries, and mushrooms are locally grown, and dairy products are one of its specialties. Fish dishes are very popular in the coastal region. Since it shares its climate and agricultural practices with Northern Europe, Lithuanian cuisine has some similarities to Scandinavian cuisine. Nevertheless, it has its own distinguishing features, which were formed by a variety of influences during the country's long and difficult history. Dairy products are an important part of traditional Lithuanian cuisine. These include white cottage cheese, varkšrys, curd, vark, soured milk, regpenis, sour cream, grytin, butter, sviestas, and sour cream butter kastinis. Traditional meat products are usually seasoned, matured, and smoked sausages, deros, lard, laniai, skilandus, smoked ham, kumpis. Soups, shriubos, bolitas soup, baravik shriuba, cabbage soup, kops shriuba, beer soup, alors shriuba, milk soup, pienika shriuba, cold beet soup, altibarii, and various kinds of porridges, kos, are part of tradition and daily diet. Freshwater fish, herring, wild berries, and mushrooms, honey are highly popular diet to this day. Lithuania has long-lasting beer brewing traditions. One of the oldest and most fundamental Lithuanian food products was and is rye bread. Rye bread is eaten every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Bread played an important role in family rituals and agrarian ceremonies. Lithuanians and other nations that once formed part of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania share many dishes and beverages. German traditions also influenced Lithuanian cuisine, introducing pork and potato dishes, such as potato pudding, kugelis or kugel, and potato sausages, vdarai, as well as the Baroque tree cake known as a kotis. The most exotic of all the influences is Eastern, Karaite, cuisine. The kibinai are popular in Lithuania. Lithuanian noblemen usually hired French chefs, so French cuisine influence came to Lithuania in this way. Balts were using mead, Midas, for thousands of years. Beer, Alus, is the most common alcoholic beverage. Lithuania has a long farmhouse beer tradition, first mentioned in 11th century chronicles. Beer was brewed for ancient Baltic festivities and rituals. 431, farmhouse brewing survived to a greater extent in Lithuania than anywhere else, and through accidents of history the Lithuanians then developed a commercial brewing culture from their unique farmhouse traditions. Lithuania is top 5 by consumption of beer per capita in Europe in 2015, counting 75 active breweries, 32 of them are microbreweries. 8 Lithuanian restaurants are listed in the White Guide Baltic Top 30. The local 30 Geriausi restaurant guide lists top domestic places, and Lithuanian restaurants will appear in the Michelin Guide on the 13th of June, 2024. History of Lithuania dates back to settlements founded 10,000 years ago. The first people settled in the territory of Lithuania after last glacial period in 10th millennium BC were Kunda, Neman, and Narva cultures. They were traveling hunters. In 8th millennium BC, climate became warmer and forests developed. The inhabitants of what is now Lithuania traveled less and engaged in local hunting, gathering, and freshwater fishing. The Indo-Europeans who arrived in 3rd to 2nd millennium BC mixed with the local population and formed various Baltic tribes. The Baltic tribes did not maintain close cultural or political contacts with Roman Empire while maintaining trade contacts via Amber Road. From 9th to 11th centuries, coastal Balts subjected to raids by the Vikings. Lithuania comprised mainly the culturally different regions of Samogitian, known for its early medieval skeletal burials, and further east Auktaitija or Lithuania proper, known for its early medieval cremation burials. The area was remote and unattractive to outsiders including traders, which accounts for separate linguistic, cultural and religious identity and delayed integration into general European patterns and trends. Traditional Lithuanian pagan customs and mythology with many archaic elements were long preserved. Rulers' bodies were cremated up until the conversion to Christianity. The descriptions of the cremation ceremonies of the Grand Dukes Algirdas and Kęstutis have survived. The first written record of the name for the country dates back to 1009 AD. Facing German threat, Mindaugas in the middle of 13th century united a large part of the Baltic tribes and founded State of Lithuania, while in 1253 he was crowned as Catholic King of Lithuania. Moreover, by taking advantage of the weakened territory of the former Kievan Rus due to Mongol invasion, Mindaugas incorporated Black Ruthenia into Lithuania. After Mindaugas' assassination in 1263, pagan Lithuania was again a target of the Christian crusades of Teutonic Knights and Livonian Order. Traidenis during his reign, 1269 to 1282, reunified all Lithuanian lands and achieved military successes against the Crusaders, fighting alongside other Baltic tribes but unable to militarily assist the Old Prussians in their great uprising. Traidenis' main residence was in Kernov. From late 13th century, members of Lithuanian Gediminids dynasty began ruling Lithuania, who consolidated a hereditary monarchy and the status of Vilnius as permanent capital city, Christianized Lithuania, and incorporating East Slavs territories, principalities of Minsk, Kiev, Polotsk, Vitebsk, Smolensk, significantly expanded the Grand Duchy of Lithuania's territory, which reached 650,000 kilometers square in the first half of 14th century. At the end of 14th century, Lithuania was the largest country in Europe. In 1385, Lithuania formed a dynastic union with Poland through the Union of Krakow. Furthermore, in the late 14th to 15th centuries, patrilineal members of Lithuanian ruling Gediminids dynasty ruled not only Lithuania and Poland but Hungary, Croatia, Bohemia, and Moldavia. German attacks on Lithuania were ceased with decisive Polish-Lithuanian victory in the Battle of Grunwald in 1410 and by concluding Treaty of Melno in 1422. In 15th century, the strengthened Grand Duchy of Moscow renewed Muscovite-Lithuanian wars for the Lithuanian-controlled Eastern Orthodox territories. Due to unsuccessful beginning of Livonian War, loss of land to Tsardom of Russia and pressure by monarch Sigismund II Augustus, a supporter of close Polish-Lithuanian union, Lithuanian nobility agreed to conclude the Union of Lublin in 1569 with the Crown of the Kingdom of Poland, which created a new federative Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth with joint monarch, holding both titles of King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania, but Lithuania remained a separate state from Poland with its own territory, 300,000 kilometers, coat of arms, management apparatus, laws, courts, seal, army, treasury. After concluding the real union, Lithuania and Poland jointly managed to reach military successes during Livonian War, occupation of Moscow, 1610, war with Sweden, 1600 to 1611, Smolensk War with Russia, 1632 to 1634. In 1588, Sigismund III Vasa personally confirmed the Third Statute of Lithuania, where it was stated that Lithuania and Poland have equal rights within the Commonwealth and ensured the separation of powers. The real union strongly intensified the Polonization of Lithuania and Lithuanian nobility. Mid-17th century marked with disastrous military losses for Lithuania, as during the deluge most of the territory of Lithuania annexed by Tsardom of Russia and even Lithuania's capital Vilnius was fully captured for the first time by a foreign army and ravaged. In 1655, Lithuania unilaterally seceded from Poland, declared Swedish King Charles X Gustav as Grand Duke of Lithuania and fell under the protection of Swedish Empire. However, by 1657 Lithuania was once again a part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth following Lithuanian revolt against Swedes. Vilnius was recaptured from the Russians in 1661. In the second half of 18th century, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was 3 times partitioned by 3 neighboring countries, which completely dissolute both independent Lithuania and Poland from the political map in 1795 after failed Kosciuszko uprising and short-lived recapture of capital Vilnius in 1794. Most of Lithuania's territory was annexed by Russian Empire, while Unemen was annexed by Prussia. Following annexation, Russian Tsarist authorities implemented Russification policies in Lithuania, which made a part of new administrative region Northwestern Krai. In 1812, Napoleon, during French invasion of Russia, established the puppet Lithuanian Provisional Governing Commission to support his war efforts. However, after Napoleon's defeat, Russian rule was reinstated in Lithuania. During November Uprising, 1830 to 1831, Lithuanians and Poles jointly attempted to restore their statehoods. However, Russian victory resulted in stricter Russification measures. Russian language was introduced in all government institutions, Vilnius University was closed in 1832, and theories that Lithuania had been a Western Russian state since its establishment were propagated. Subsequently, Lithuanians once again tried to restore statehood by participating in January Uprising, 1863 to 1864, but yet another Russian victory resulted in even stronger Russification policies with the introduction of Lithuanian press ban, pressure on Catholic Church in Lithuania, and Mikhail Muravyo-Filinski's repressions. The Lithuanians resisted Russification through an extensive network of Lithuanian book smugglers, secret Lithuanian publishing, and homeschooling. Moreover, Lithuanian national revival, inspired by Lithuanian history, language, and culture, laid the foundations for the re-establishment of an independent Lithuania. The Great Seimas of Vilnius was held in 1905, and its participants adopted resolutions which demanded a wide autonomy for Lithuania. On the 11th of March, 1990, Supreme Council announced the restoration of Lithuania's independence. Lithuania became the first Soviet-occupied state to announce the restitution of independence. On the 20th of April, 1990, Soviets imposed an economic blockade by ceasing to deliver supplies of raw materials to Lithuania. Not only domestic industry but also the population started feeling the lack of fuel, essential goods, and even hot water. Although the blockade lasted for 74 days, Lithuania did not renounce the declaration of independence. Gradually, economic relations were restored. However, tensions peaked again in January 1991. Attempts were made to carry out a coup using Soviet armed forces, Internal Army of the Ministry of Internal Affairs and USSR Committee for State Security, KGB. Because of the poor economic situation in Lithuania, the forces in Moscow thought the coup d'état would receive strong public support. People flooded to Vilnius to defend the Supreme Council of the Republic of Lithuania and independence. The coup ended with a few casualties and material loss. The Soviet army killed 14 people and injured hundreds. A large part of the Lithuanian population participated in the January events. On the 31st of July, 1991, Soviet paramilitaries killed 7 Lithuanian border guards on the Belarusian border in what became known as the Medininkai massacre. On the 17th of September, 1991, Lithuania was admitted to the United Nations. On the 25th of October, 1992, citizens voted in a referendum to adopt the current constitution. On the 14th of February, 1993, during the direct general elections, Algirdas Brazauskas became the first president after the restoration of independence. On the 31st of August, 1993, the last units of former Soviet army left Lithuania.